Hi, everyone. So we're going to do part three of Boston Harbor, the Tea Party, the Revolutionary War, and we're going to try to tie it in a little bit better with Betsy Ross and anything else that I can pick up on with Salem, Massachusetts. And with that being said, when that happens, that you have a lot of interruptions. And I feel like this energy is such a stir up. It's such a stir up that you can't get it done. You just can't get it done. So that's why I'm just taking my time with whatever I have been led to do with this type of deep dive and look in. So normally I take out my runes and I do it and I hear when it comes to Massachusetts, you just got to go and take a ride. You just got to feel the energy. And most of them were not allowed to use their gifts or their talents or anything like that. They had to use energy work. And most of the time it's because they were in a type of lock that was a protective lock. It was meant to preserve their wealth, and their wealth was everything about them, their mind, body, and soul. So when we were talking about being in the woods, when they were trailing, there was, we went to like a type of organic science that had to do with like muskets and their firearms and how they did munitions. But usually it was not, it usually was black powder. It was very rare to see any type of mix in it. And so that's how they know that the black powder was ill. And ill meant that it would bring curse, a hex, a spell that would cause disease and anything else towards anything of the living, of towards the earth. And that was a gift to be able to identify that highly. So it was fated and ill fated at the same time. So with that being said, it flowed well. It flowed well. I see a lot of issues with women at that point. And when that happened, when it was Degas for this rune in mediumship, they're trying to translate what Degas means. It meant formidable review. It meant like who was loose and who wasn't. It was still the same type of crimes back then. And then with the simple boil down of it, you couldn't get it done. And then people would act strange and all of it. But we're really trying to see like how did putting a stone in a cast iron pot be biblical to a form of a book where they actually went about and read and said 16 years and you would actually age immediately. And then they couldn't actually go to a court of law in Salem. So that is why they're seeing on this backstory in Salem, Massachusetts, it was heinous on what happened. And then when we see it, it was like the gentle version of this story that you can't explain this timeline jump. And then all of a sudden, I'm talking about Betsy Ross, which is the Civil War to Paul Revere, and these individuals are jumping all over the place. And they were throwing out this type of intuitive language, light language, talking to each other on getting it done, like almost messages from the past. They show messages from the past. It was such a stroke of luck, such a stroke of luck. You just couldn't understand. So basically, what happened was it caused that havoc with intuitive language, intuitive body language, and speaking and hearing that they were able to. But some people actually got caught up in the crossfires. Like they actually got injured so bad from munitions or anything else that they were loose and they learned how to heal, and they wanted to know like how do you get that, how did you heal? And they're like all forms of the spelling. There was actually such I hate to say for a lack of a better term, a crack open on these innocent lives that they learn to compensate and use such intelligent genius blending of mind, body, and soul on how to heal themselves and others for the current day and what they had remembered. It was like a forced past life remembrance to keep living. Now, with that being said, it's really rare. It's really rare. You don't want to do a lot of past life remembrances because it can be highly traumatic, depending. It's highly powerful if you can remember it and if you want to remember it. But it can be a type of trolling. And from what I've seen as an LPN out in the field, as a field nurse, is that these illegal substances literally can make them remember a glip of you, because a lot of times our everything with DNA structure, we are very similar in appearances in the next life, and that's scary. So that's why they're really honing in on even more watching illegal substances and what's truly in it and what's the motive and intent. But what happens is they get locked in, they do the crime and they get locked in, and they just remember you for just a minute and they do something towards you, and it could be remotely, you can't even believe it. Now, with that being said, that's where you have to be a true warrior. You got to be a true warrior. You got to be strong, strong. Now, with that being said, you literally got to be on the defense. So with that, you go at night. Yep, you can do at night. Absolutely. It really does not take much when you actually study physics with inertia and mathematics. And it all it is when you actually do a burning cleanse, or you do a tincture, or you're following like on holistic view with holistic with an H to the WH, you're following your intuition and your instinct. So that is where you preserve your estate. You always have to think that your body is a temple, your body is a house. It houses everything about you and what is absolutely pertinent to everything. And that was why it went so haywire in the Revolutionary War. So that came through a lot from a lot of female energy from mediumship. When you have this, you have to be just a man. And they said, what do you mean you just have to be a man? It came through. This is me. This is my gift. I'm really good at this. What happened? You're not supposed to use it. And that is where a lot of the witchcraft came in. Now, witchcraft per se is not illegal. It is the motive and intent. It's to be able to use locks and blocks and curses and spells and hexes appropriately. And that is where the rule of three comes in. And I'm not preaching. And that's where it would go through on these night talks. Like, you got to go do the lock again because it didn't stick. And then we bring it right back to 1992 with the Crips and the Bloods and the Latin Kings and Tupac and Biggie. And what they were able to literally lock down in you. That was the hidden. That was the hidden. You couldn't believe it at all. And I just remember being sick, having strep throat all the time in the 90s. And those were the same patterns. And that is what nurses and lawyers and all professions have. They're like, it has happened in this decade. And we got to watch for it because we had 5 instances and it's probably coming back. So we're going to go over to the Light Seer Tarot and see what else is going on. They couldn't even have intuition. There was just no intuition. When it went to, and let me try to do a remote view. So they're showing me a piece of Bunker Hill. I do see it's so obscured black. I do see the cannon. I do see one man. I do see a large area. The tree is down south, somewhere down like a willow tree in Georgia. There was a type of aim. A I can't even say it. Can't even say it. That you can't understand what actually truly happened on Bunker Hill. I feel that's something more of like a military video. They didn't really research it when it actually happened at Bunker Hill. Right now, male energy is trying to lead me. I'm just trying to cut away at the energy a little bit. They literally let in such a advantage ambush on Bunker Hill. It was a spiritual war, not a firefight. There's something like demented. They like she set in dementia into these individuals. It's heinous, 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 heinous. It was meant for a lack of a start of a spark that you can't have any clarity on it right now. So getting back to the T, like this is really hard on linking as a psychic right now. So we had Salem, they had a form of racketeering with putting stone, a game in, and then there was a hidden game. I see issues at the pubs. I see a civil war with agriculture. This is something like what Hamas is doing in current day. Very similar. And I'm just gonna leave it right there. It's very unhappy, very unhappy. I'm seeing that these figures did remember a lot from the Salem witch trials. Five. I see three females, two males. It's very hard to see. It's still black covered. They literally did a pertinence order. They literally did a pertinence order. Even back then, pertinence order is not something that you want to hear in the streets. That means they're going to smoke marijuana or anything else and do you in. So it was just so common when they came over to settle, they would hear that in the ports. They're like, why are you here? Kind of like immigration. They're like, I'm here to settle. That means it was just common, but they really don't say that. There's still some sort of apprenticeship, still very open. It like this is something highly undiscovered at all. This brings in a lot of money, they would say. It was such a good deal of an equal give and take of prudency. You couldn't even have emotions. You couldn't even have emotions. It was definitely meant there was some sort of reunion with these individuals from each lifetime that it was meant to stop because they knew it would happen. It was so prophetically found. You couldn't even do. You just couldn't even do. Now we talked a little bit about Independence Hall and how pyrite, ingesting pyrite was such a big deal. It caused like almost immediate death. Immediate death. Confirmed. Ace of Swords. Absolutely confirmed. Now, with that being said, Independence Hall, they're leading me down there. He's showing me his lantern, Paul Revere. He's showing me Independence Hall. He says it was candelabra, candle. I'm seeing the Federalist Papers. It was a little bit of a block. I feel that it's a little bit on should be unspoken at this time. But I do see it. It was highly pivotal. Something about like a game, like a basketball, a ball, a badminton. it's incomplete. There's something about Independence Hall in Revolutionary War that was incomplete that leaked through as a halt stop to the Civil War. Now, with that being said, there was a lot of dishonor that caused such a transition of this like halt stop turbulent enforce, where this actually ended up becoming such a source of everything that you can't understand. They just sit there. They would find, they're just showing, they would find people who were homebound, as what we call, and they would talk to them. They're like, no, 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 you just go over here and do this and this and this. And they're like, how did you get that information? You're like, you're homebound, like you just don't do much around the house. No, 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 I saw it, I heard it, I felt it. Really? And they would test them in their own way. They're like, no, they're sources. Keep them there. And that's all you need to know. So I feel that there is a number 4 in this video. We're going to take a break because that was very heavy energy for me on trying to cut it away and trying to see the obscurity of what was trying to lead through. I definitely feel that the energy is trying to lead me to the current events of what is going on so we can make sense of everything, especially when things become senseless. So we'll talk to you soon.